What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Two Knicks Chicks. Thanks for joining us today. I'm your girl, Lady and the Chef, joined by my co-host this evening.
Deeper Locks 21. What's up?
Well, the Knicks just came off of a nice, impressive, super strong win against Detroit, who have been struggling this season with only 12 wins. They're sitting at 12 and 60. The Knicks, with this win, they won 124 to 99. The Knicks are back in the fourth seed standings in the East. Their Knicks are now 43 and 28. This was a really impressive win, considering all the past games, which I want to say this is the third time we played Detroit. But the Knicks, the past games that we played them this season, for some reason the Knicks haven't been able to gain a big lead. Detroit has always been it's been a very chippy game and been very close. And this was a game that I said I really want to see the Knicks, um, you know, get a nice lead, a comfortable lead on Detroit and run away with it. And the Knicks did just that. So I was really impressed by the way they played. I thought it was a great game. There was a couple of standout players, of course, that stood out in this game. And I kudos to the Knicks for getting this win. And this was also a win that I wanted to see the Knicks actually get, just because this game as well as tomorrow's game against the Raptors, a games that the Knicks should be winning against teams that they should be beating. And Detroit was one of them. The Knicks have already beat them, but again, it's inexcusable. I think it's a non-negotiable that the Knicks have to win these games. Um, your thoughts on the Knicks' last two games, especially yesterday's game against Detroit?
Um, Collectively, it was like a team effort. Um, mostly everybody pitched in. Um, there was some first set records set and so forth. So it was nice. Um, like you said, these are the games that we're coming down to the home stretch because with the uncertainty of three starters, these all games, count. Because we don't know when and who's coming back and who's coming back first, second, third. So just the contribution that these guys are making, they're playing hard, playing unselfish ball. Um, of course, Miles McBride, he's definitely, coming to his own, you know, and I always say you never know how a player responds unless they're put in that situation. Some players are made for this, some players are built for this. Miles McBride, he's one of those players that's built for this type of game.
Right.
Just overall, like, they just play great basketball, you know. And like they said, like I think Hart said, we'll be foolish to say we're not looking at the standards, and they are because they know these games count. You can't like, oh no, we're not worried, we're not looking. No, it was McBride. Yeah, they count. Let's face it. So, this is like a great game that they won yesterday. Kudos to them, and again, they just with all games matter, and you got to stack those wins.
Yeah, I agree. I think that the remainder of this season is really important. I think the Knicks need to gather as many wins as possible moving forward, but especially against teams that are not even above 500 or nowhere near. The Knicks have to get these wins. And I think the key thing that stood out for me is that the Knicks are figuring out how to win and beat teams without Randall, without OG, without Mitch around. And I think that's important because that was something that was a little concerning for me. I'm gonna say maybe 10 games ago, I was saying to myself, this team has to learn how to win without Randall, without OG in the lineup. It's just like when Brunson needs time to go to the bench and he needs a breather. Hartenstein needs a breather and goes to the bench. They have to figure out how to still make things happen, whether that's with Precious Achua, who I'm not really comfortable with him playing that five position. I think he's better playing the four. But even when he's out there, because you can't really rely necessarily on Bogdanovich gathering your rebounds for you, he's going to do the best that he can. But I think that it still doesn't need to be any excuses. I think guys just have to figure out how to win and do it without your main guys on the floor. And I think this team is figuring out how to do that and how to gather wins without their main guys. First quarter, the Knicks pretty much had a nice, comfortable lead, 36-17. Second quarter, the Knicks had 23, Detroit 25. Third quarter, Knicks scored 36, Detroit 24. Fourth quarter, Knicks scored 29, Detroit 33. So it was, for the most part, it was a well balanced game by the Knicks and the way they were playing. And also, Detroit were playing with a lot of G League players that no one's ever really heard of or known. Dante DiVincenzo did break the record of, I don't think he broke the record yet for the most threes in a season, but in a game with 11. I know Fournier still has the record with 241 or 242. So I think he needs like 8 more to beat that record, which I'm sure he's going to beat that record. And it seems like Fournier was trying to play up on DiVincenzo really hard and aggressively, so he didn't get that many threes. But we know Fournier can't play no defense. But DiVincenzo played 41 minutes, had 40 points, 5 rebounds, 2 assists. Josh Hart played 40 minutes, had another triple double with 14 rebounds, 10 assists, 11 points. Isaiah Hartenstein played 24 minutes, finished with 10 rebounds, 5 assists, 6 points. Miles McBride played 43 minutes. He had 13 points, 5 rebounds, 4 assists. Jalen Brunson played 30 minutes, had 28 points, 6 assists. Precious Achua, he played 26 minutes, had 16 rebounds and 9 points. And Bojan played 18 minutes and had 13 points. Do you think Tibbs is playing both Josh Hart and McBride too many minutes with the 40-point minute mark?
No, as I said previously, believe it or not, they're not leading the league in minutes played. Um, you know, there's a lot of starters that are playing more minutes than they are. Um, and of course, as fans, we think they are, because we realize what there's role players, but if those players aren't producing, you gotta do, you know, I don't mean to, sound so lucid. Do what it is to get the win. Um, and I don't think it's at the expense of these guys because I mean, let's face it. If they are tired, they know how to pull themselves out of the game. So then you got to look at it in that aspect. Yeah, they're playing a lot, but they're not playing no more than your Kawhis, your KDs, or your Tatum. These are starters, and yeah, Deuce he has started a few games. Um, you know, I don't think so. That these and also these guys they're playing to win. So they're looking at it in the aspect of yeah, well we want to win and we want to advance. And so my take is if they're tired, they can easily sub out. If they get injured and they haven't been. So I don't think so. They're playing to win for the most part.
I'm kind of 50-50 on it because while in one breath I feel like to some degree, yes, I think as a professional you have to go out there and play as many minutes and do what you need to do to get the team to win. We know what the end goal is, but then at the other standpoint of it, I feel like I think Hart and McBride are playing too many minutes, and I think that maybe it can be 35, maybe 37, or I would say maybe 35 some nights, just because to me, I feel like you don't want to risk them getting hurt right before we get in the postseason. And, again, I don't blame Tibbs for that because I agree. These guys are grown. If you're tired, you can let Tibbs know that you need to get out. But I just think that it is a little bit, I don't know. I think it's a little bit too much minutes. I think the minutes can be a little less. But then again, I look at a guy like McBride who wasn't necessarily getting that much burn before. He's young. He has the legs underneath him, so he can manage and handle playing that many minutes. He's in great shape. So I don't know. I think for me, I'm just trying to be mindful of who we're playing, however many minutes we're playing. Even, I thought Tibbs would have sat down Brunson a little sooner, and Brunson was still playing like, pretty far into the fourth quarter. I And I thought I saw Shake get in the game, but it was like when he put Jeffries in, and it was the bench squad, the C squad of the teams. He put them in, and I was just like, I don't know why he's playing with that squad, but what are we gonna do about Tibbs? That's what Tibbs does. But I don't. I think that and I say that because I think OG, while he's still shooting, he hasn't been necessarily practicing back yet with the team, but his shots are still falling down, and Mitch is making progress to come back, and we're still finding out what's going on with Mitch. But with Randall, we don't know when Randall's coming back. And I'm a little concerned, is Randall coming back? Because according to Tibbs, Randall hasn't really made any progress yet. And nor has he practiced with a 5-on-5 and with contact.
Yes, the last I read, they said he's just shooting and he's running, just exercising. So and see, and that's the thing, hypothetically, if Brendan do come back, you gotta remember, and it's like any play, you got to get into a rhythm. You
Mhm.
know, remember when he came back from that ankle injury, it took him a while to get that rhythm going, and so he
Mhm.
shot poorly, and but he did the other things, and so who's to say, you know, the same things probably will happen. He has to get that rhythm going, and how many games will that take for him to get that rhythm? So a part of that's what I say. It's just like the front office, they're just being so tight-lipped. You know, is he coming back? Or they just gonna just drop the hammer on us. Maybe once they get out the first round, oh well, he's opted for surgery because they feel well he got this far, without him. Okay, let's drop. So that's the only thing with that. You don't know the what ifs with Randall. Like if he do come back, you got to get that rhythm going. What contribution can he make? Like I said, when the last I read, they say he's just shooting.
Mhm.
His threes is on point. His jump shot, this and that is great, and he's running, sprinting, but okay, but that's not contact. So that's telling us nothing. So it's like they just feed you, little fillers, just to I don't know, just to satisfy, just giving us updates as fans. So it just makes you wonder.
Yeah, I think there's a concern for me as far as if Randall's going to be able to come back in time or to finish off the remainder of the season. I think that the Knicks medical and front office is trying to reserve Randall to come back with maybe 3 to 5 games left of the season of the regular season and have him come back for the postseason. I hope that that's the case, but I don't know, and I don't think we're getting any updates because they're
There's no
still trying to
updates.
figure out, huh?
There's no updates. That's why.
Yeah, I just don't think that there's really been any progress. But I think the real question is, okay, hypothetically, if Randall doesn't come back, how far can this team go? And and can Brunson carry this team over the hump with help from Josh Hart, DiVincenzo, and maybe OG? Or does Brunson end up like how Damian Lillard was when he was in Portland? You have a decent squad. We can make the playoffs. We push and try as much as we can, but that's the furthest that we're gonna get. And I really don't want that to happen to Brunson. And it's not me thinking too far ahead, but I just wonder with this squad, like if Randall doesn't come back, how far can this team go and can they really contend past the second round?
Yeah, yeah, that's concerning because a case like the game we played Denver, Randall's presence down low, the physicality that he plays with. So, when you meet up against opponents like that, those tough matchups, when you got those bigs.
Hmm.
Who's gonna, because that's what we lack height and length in that Denver game. So, who's gonna make up that, fill in that gap?
Right.
Because although we beat Denver that last time, but again, as this, the season progresses and you go and make to the first round, the second round, who's gonna fill in that gap? Precious, um, like you said, he's I'm comfortable with him at the four, and that's it. That five, he's hopefully we get Mitch back, but you know he's filled in as best he could and not taking anything away from him. But when it comes down to, like you said, that players is a different, animal, and it gets more physical. Guys are banging bodies because everybody wants to, move on to the next round. So it's concerning, if you don't have anyone, that can fill in at that legitimate four spot.
Hmm.
Precious he is, but again, he can only do what so much, with what he has as far as just his height, the physical, playing physical down low, and things like that. So, I'm nervous, quite frankly, to see, you know, how far we can go if Randall don't come back,
Yeah,
because
I think the biggest thing is that I'm not even really gonna pinpoint it on Precious so much, but I think for me, the Knicks lack playmakers.
that's
And
true.
the only real playmakers that this team has is Jalen Brunson. And I want to put Randall in the category, but I think Randall has to prove to me that he is a playmaker in the playoffs. In the playoffs, I'm gonna put the
Okay.
asterisk next to that. No, because in the playoffs last year, Randall didn't. He couldn't move past his man one on one. We could run the tapes back. He wasn't moving past his man. You could disagree. That's fine. It makes for a
Yeah,
healthy
but
debate.
but he was also partly injured too. He was
No,
playing.
I'm going before the injury. Randall was not able to play make one on one against anybody in
And
the playoffs.
I am. I'm gonna disagree with you. I mean, I think he's a playmaker. Um, and that's why Brunson can only do but so much. Yeah, he's gonna carry the team as far as he can, and it's not gonna, it's the onus is not only on him, but if Randall was healthy, you know, he would be able to. He's a playmaker. He can create. So I mean, I disagree. Just
I
being
think
down
Randall has
low.
I think Randall has to prove that he can prove that he can create his own shot and get his shots off that he wants to against
Okay.
a more tougher, dramatic, intense defense in the playoffs, the way teams play defense. I think against Cleveland, yeah, you were able to do that because Cleveland has no answer for the Knicks. But when you start playing against those better teams in the league, again, I need to be able to for him to prove me wrong, and then I can be like, okay, yeah, I saw what he can do. Now, do I think it's a different level of playmaking between what Randall does and the way Brunson play makes? Yes. I think
Yeah.
Brunson is it's more fluid, and I think Randall, it can kind of stop, like how Melo needs time to go to whatever move he's gonna go to, and then he scores. Yes. But I think, okay, if Randall doesn't come back, I think the biggest thing for the Knicks is that you need other guys to step up. DiVincenzo's going to have to step up and be a contributor. You're going to need his scoring and his shooting. Like he has
For
to be
sure.
on every game of each series. You're going to need Josh Hart to contribute and step up. I'm not asking for a triple double, but he's going to need to be able to contribute and give something to again each game of the series. You're going to need Bogdanovich to step up. Burks is going to need to step up. Those two guys are definitely going to have to find their rhythm and step up. There's no time for any more excuses. Like you've had enough games under your belt to be able to step up and contribute to this team in the playoffs. McBride is going to have to step up, not even just with helping out, bringing up the ball, but we're going to need scoring. And we see that he's capable of doing that. He's proven that he can do it. That's what we're going to need to see. We need to see McBride be able to score and help out this team. Um, and Precious, if he can help out, cool. But it can't just fall on just Brunson. And I think the team effort has to be there. Guys need to, the way the Knicks move without the ball, how they were doing against Detroit and done in other games throughout the season, and Hartenstein's able to dish them the ball. That's how it has to be. That's how the Knicks are gonna win games. It can't
Yeah.
be, okay, they're playing tough defense on Brunson, and then now we look to shoot, throw the ball out to maybe Devo or Hart or McBride somewhere in the corner and hope that they're going to make the three. That's not going to win them games. And I think sometimes the Knicks kind of fall into that, and they fall into a team's lap when they play, like it's almost like they settle a bit instead of going to their style of play.
Yeah. Hmm.
Do that in the postseason. But if Randall doesn't come back, and right now, I don't know. There's still a big fat question mark if Randall's going to come back. But if he doesn't come back, that's my thing, is how far can this team go in the postseason without him? Because you do need Randall in his scoring. And the playmaking that he does, I just need to see it in the postseason. But I think that, again, and even if the Knicks do get Mitch back, okay, yeah, now you have Hartenstein and Mitch. Those two can come in and swap and, for each other. One could sit down, get some rest, the other one could come in. But I still think that the scoring needs to be there. Ajay was saying yesterday how the Knicks, he's not concerned because he feels like the Knicks, these guys can score. Yeah, but they got to knock the basket down. We know they can score. But can you do that in a series, in the playoffs? And again, I keep saying this, and I'm going to keep saying it. If the shot is not falling, as a player, you have to say, okay, I have to go to another alternative. And then I think Tibbs needs to step in and say, let's try to bring the ball in. I think you should continue to keep shooting, but you need to also try to look for your shot a little closer in. And let's not just, because now teams are going to take advantage of that. They're going to say, okay, well, they're going to keep shooting threes. We know they're not knocking them. We're going to get the rebound and go back down to the other end of the floor. So I think that's my thing. And I wonder, if the Knicks don't make it that far in the playoffs without Randall, or even if Randall does come back and they fall short, does this mean that the Knicks need another guy?
Well, see, that's hard to say because now Randall's coming up an injury. So, you know,
But even
injuries.
if even with him healthy, is that enough?
You see, you can't say because he's coming off an injury. Now, if he was healthy, so I think that's because you could go out there and get that quote unquote that superstar. And what happens if that superstar gets injured? Now, guess what? Everybody's gonna be up in arms. Oh, they paid all this money, they swapped all these picks and this and that, and this guy. Sometimes those things you can't prevent them as much as you want to. Some injuries are just it's just the luck of the draw. You go walk outside your own house and slip on a crack, you injured, things like that happen. So if this superstar, quote unquote, if he gets injured, now what? Then again, everybody gonna be up in arms. So I think it's kind of unfair again to judge him based off if he comes back, and if they don't make it as far as fans or as a team they wanted to, you
Mhm.
know
But
what
for me, I'm not basing it off of that. I'm basing it off of even before Randall got hurt, is having Randall and Brunson mainly be the two main guys. Because we started to see DiVincenzo cook and he was warming up. And I said it to you, I saw him taking Grimes minutes. But is that enough? I'm saying even if Randall, this is before the injury, like Is that enough with just those, or do the Knicks need like those that three-headed monster of guys that you can say, okay, they have an option? And to me, I don't even think you need to necessarily go after a superstar. I think if they
No,
can just
you
find
don't.
another pure shooter, a guy who's a walking bucket, yes, I think that's what the Knicks still need. Because while I do like what DiVincenzo's doing, I think he's been great this season. That's what I'm looking for in the postseason. Like, is that enough? Can that carry us even for next year? Or do the Knicks need another guy that they need to look into bringing in that can be another option? Because you see, like, and we already know the Knicks are not going to keep Burks. It's not enough. We need like other guys who are shooters on this team who can knock shots down. Bogdanovich, we know you can get a bucket from him. I've seen him make tough baskets on the floor. But I just wonder if, like, it's not even just necessarily blaming it on if the Knicks fall short this season, but like, do this team need another key piece? Because I think the Knicks need another piece. I don't think
No,
that
they
this is
do.
it.
I agree 1,000%. They do. Um, all like you said, although deep in chance, he's been a gem and he's quite a steal. They got him at coupon shopping for what he's making compared to what the other shooters are making. They got him at a steal. So even if they don't make it, of course, they definitely it's not even a super like you said, we don't need a superstar. We got one. We got Brunson. In my opinion. So
Agreed.
he is a superstar. So but they will need definitely another pure shooter, somebody that could create a playmaker. So they need somebody that can encompass all those things. And if Devo, has to go to the bench, but again, it's for the betterment of the team. It's not, not just what you didn't do last year. It's for the team, collectively. This is the route we're going. So yeah, of course, I agree. They will need somebody, even if they do make it, because there were some struggles throughout the season. And we lost some games that, man,
We
that
should-
they were handed to you, but for whatever reason, they just didn't want it, because a game's about you have to want it. So for whatever reason, they just didn't want it. So yes, you will need that person that can be, like I said, a walking bucket because of the struggles that they had when they had a healthy roster. So that says a lot about them. So and but again, if Randall do come back and they fall short, that's not on him. That's just saying
Mhm.
that they need another key piece. And no,
Because
like you
now
said,
the pressure's just falling on two guys.
exactly.
It can't, because I think that's what's happening now. When Randall was healthy in here, it was falling on Randall and Brunson. And then once the Knicks started to find their groove and who they were, their identity as a team, it in the beginning it was kind of individual. Like Randall would give you anywhere between 25 and 40 points, and Brunson would give you 20 to 30, but we wasn't winning. Then when they found their identity, either one of them was giving you 35, 40, the other one was giving you 22, 23 points. But it was also other guys in double figures, and it was a collective effort. So we were starting to get the W's, which I said, it doesn't matter. I don't care if you give me 40, but if we're not winning the game, that means nothing to the team,
Yeah.
But I think that the biggest thing right now is that what I was noticing rather was that the pressure was mainly on Randall and Brunson to have to score all these points for us to win. And if you got lucky in games, you would get Dante DiVincenzo to give you 18, 23 points. Josh Hart at this time wasn't giving us the energy that he's giving now, and I don't think at this point we had OG. And then when OG came, yeah, he was doing the other little intangibles that was helping. But I think that this team needs another guy because right now it's falling on two guys. And, well, I wanted to.
Eddie, I just want to put that up. He's saying we need a superstar. To me, so who do you consider Brunson to be? I consider him to be our superstar. Um, you know, I disagree. He Brunson is a superstar of the team. Um,
He could be
with
saying that maybe he thinks they need another star, like a
oh
superstar.
well, definitely, like we were saying, but and you know, a shooter, someone like say a creative playmaker, all those things. Um, you know, but again, and then that's a drawback with that. Now you got to make sure like you that superstar could what or that player, you
To play
know,
with
go
Brunson.
yeah, because there's teams that do have three-headed monsters, and it's for whatever it's not working. Phoenix is a prime example.
Hmm.
They got three superstars.
That's
Bill
true.
just came from a team where he was a superstar. So, but yet now you got other teams where it do work. You know, Denver, they got Porter, Jokic, and they got Murray. So you know things like that. Like you got to be careful with who you bring in because just because you bring in that third person, will it work? You know, because some teams have success and some
Hmm.
don't for whatever reason. So that's what you got to be careful. You know, with who you bring in and someone that could, you know, could like, you know, can complement the other. You know.
Yeah, the chemistry has to be there.
Yeah, for
And if the
sure.
chemistry is not there with that other player that the Knicks decide to bring in, it's not going to work. Um,
Yeah.
so I just think that I think the goal for this team this season, in my opinion, I think it is to move further than where they got last year. I think the front office will like to see this Knicks team get past the second round for sure, and get to the Eastern Conference Finals. Now, I think if Randall doesn't come back, but we can get Mitch and OG back, I think the Knicks can make it to the Eastern Conference Finals for
Oh, for
sure.
sure.
For sure. Like I think the Knicks can totally come back. I mean, make it that far without Randall. Because again, it's a little concerning. You don't know if Randall's going to come back. It looks like Mitch and OG may come back before him. So I don't know. Devo may have a bad night. We cannot rely on 3 pointers. Agreed. The 3 pointers will be the death of the Knicks if they rely on them. Like the Knicks, and it's not to say that the Knicks are a horrible 3 point shooting team. I just don't think that the Knicks should rely on the threes in the
Yeah.
playoffs at all. Like to me, don't I think when the Knicks make that extra pass, like I said, and they play that unselfish ball, they're successful,
Mhm.
and somehow the threes knocked down. But when they do 1-2 pass and then somebody shoots, a lot of times we're not. It's not working out for us. Last night was a prime example of how the Knicks, and I guess it was because it was against Detroit, but the Knicks were very confident on the floor last night. You can tell by the way they were playing, the way they were moving the ball. It was almost like they were playing against a middle school team, and we're professionals and we're playing against, kids who don't have any experience. So I think that, if the Knicks first of all have to carry that momentum of that confidence, especially tomorrow against Toronto, who's lost their last 11 games. Toronto has lost 11 straight in a row. It's no reason why, and this is why I said it's non-negotiable. The Knicks have to win these next few games.
Well, and Toronto have I think most of their starters out. Quickies are RJ. Um, they're gonna be playing with a lot of G League guys, but again, these are guys now they trying to play for a contract. So of course they got something to prove. That's what I say. And they have nothing to lose.
Right.
So the Knicks have to I don't take them lightly because their starters aren't playing. So you got to come out strong and maintain that. So
Exactly. Yeah, I agree. This is why I posed the question. Does Brunson end up? Eddie said if we keep postponing the acquisition of a superstar, Brunson will end up like Dame here. And that's why I brought him up because I thought about him when I was on the Queen's Court. Shout out to Steph, Ajay, Jeff. Um, we were talking in Delusional Knicks. And I said, that's one thing that concerns me. I said, I hope this doesn't turn out where Brunson ends up like Dame Lillard when he was in Portland. Like wow, he's a good player, but I don't think the team is on the level yet of where he's at. You know what I mean? And you don't really have that player doesn't really have the help to the level of where that guy is at. And I think we have I don't think our the Knicks this roster is where the Portland roster was. I think guys here are definitely better um as a player wise, but I just think that I hope that that doesn't happen where Brunson because Brunson wants to be here. He wanted to come to New York. The Knicks, like you
Sure.
said, got him at a great contract deal, but he's also going to be due to get paid. Same thing with Randall, and I think that like how Tibbs needed help because in the beginning Tibbs was working with what he had and Leon went and got guys for him to be able to work with. I think they're going to have to do that with Brunson and bring in guys he can work with. Now, I think DiVincenzo and Hart works. They're Villanova guys. They understand and they played with each other. I think that works. I think McBride works in the mix too. I think McBride has proven himself to be, he can stay here on this team. I think Hartenstein also has proven that he works on this team as well. I just think that there's a couple of other guys I'm a little like
Yeah,
I'm not,
yeah.
I'm not sure if we should keep you or we should like maybe get someone else in who will be a better fit with this roster and where this team is trying to go. So you heard them. Hit the like button, guys. Smash the like button. It's free 99. Hit the subscribe button if it's your first time here. Those of you who may not be active in the chat but you're watching, hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, replay gang, same thing. Hit the like button. Over 11 in chat, smash the like button. Kareem Grant salute. He said we don't want to be like the Boston State Warriors. How did Boston lose that lead yesterday?
But not passing. They should. Tatum and Brown's playing too much ISO. Too much ISO. That
So
first
can that be the
possession,
way the Knicks beat them?
what was that?
Can that be the way how the Knicks beat Boston if they playing too much ISO ball?
Of course.
Then the
You
Knicks
you
could
you
lock
don't
in.
win like that. You just don't. I mean, Tatum, he's down at the top of the key, and then he like, dude, you got teammates. Move that ball. And of course, he wants to take that shot, and Brown came down and did the same thing. Too much ISO on them, and so they cost that game. That bears on their shoulder. So that was a learning good, learn a hard learning lesson for him. You
I
know,
couldn't believe that.
yeah,
I couldn't believe that because they were tearing up Atlanta.
up
And I
by
was,
30.
yeah,
That's a lot to be up by.
yeah. And to lose it. Got too comfortable and too cocky because y'all won 50 something games. That's what that was too.
Yeah. Mhm.
Just Nick Salute said, slightly
Salute.
disagree. Our team is surrounded by players that complement him also. These front office created more family atmosphere. I think there are players that complement Brunson. I don't think the Knicks have enough players that are playmakers that complement Brunson and what he does for this team. We haven't beat Boston. We beat Boston by hitting our 3 pointers and free throws. If the game is close, Brunson will carry. Oh, we beat you saying like we're gonna beat Boston by hitting our
Yeah.
3 pointers and free throws.
But
If
you
they
can't sit back and rely on the 3-pointer also. What you were saying.
and that's the Knicks kryptonite. That's what's gonna hurt the Knicks. I don't think the Knicks should worry about trying to beat a team like Boston or Denver by hitting threes. I think the Knicks need to let the threes come to them. I think they need to just let that ball move. Guys need to move, get to their spots, play that unselfish ball, make that extra pass or two. And I think somehow the Knicks do a great job finding other guys, whether someone's driving into the lane and then they kick the ball out. They're able to find someone out in a corner, the top of the key, the left or right of the 3 pointer line. They do a great job passing out the ball and finding someone on the team to shoot that three. So I think that That along with just cutting to the basket. When the Knicks cut to the basket, they're very successful. Trust the process. Hartenstein is gonna find you. He has great court vision. He has great them bounce passes be crisp. Crisp. You know when you open a ginger ale and it and it gets you right there? That's how them bounce passes. Crisp. He will find you going to the basket. He does a great job. It's very rare. I've seen it maybe happen. I can't even say a handful of times where the defense has read Hartenstein and know he's going to make those passes. There's been a few teams who's locked down on him and they're like, you're not doing that tonight. And you know what? I think Hartenstein could even get better because when we played Denver, Jokic was showing Hartenstein, this is how you pass. Because I'm going to do
Yeah,
it without even looking. I'm just going to throw it behind my back. And it's not trick shots. He's just so comfortable making those passes that that's how you do it. But nonetheless, I think the key to beating a team like Boston, beating a team like OKC, which we have coming up, beating Denver, those kind of teams, I think the Knicks have to move the ball, play unselfish ball, not rely on the three, space the floor as they do, create that spacing. And I think when the Knicks make that extra pass or two, I've seen it plenty of times where I've seen several guys could have taken the shot because they're open because of the way we're moving the ball. But when they make that extra pass and it works every time for us. It works for the Knicks, but I think that's how they're going to have to play. We know the Knicks can play great defense, but I think to beat a team like Boston and then defensively, you got to guard the 3-point line. You got to make it hard for a player like Tatum and Brown to get the ball. Make it hard for Porzingis on that block. Make them work to get the ball. Don't just allow them to catch the ball where they want to in their spots, you know. And I think at the same time, the Knicks' energy level has to be high. From the jump ball, the energy has to be high. The start of the third quarter, the energy has to be high. When you play an SGA, you got to make him work for those. And I get that you could have great defense, but it could be better offense. But you got to
yeah.
make. Remember how McBride was guarding Curry?
Oh yeah,
That's the energy you got to have against players like Tatum, Brown, SGA,
yeah.
Jokic. Make them work for it. Miami,
Every,
I don't want Bam having his way. Jimmy having his way. Make them work for it. There's
for
no
every
easy buckets
possession.
over here. Right. Every possession has to count, whether it's on the defensive end or it's the offensive end. And that's how the Knicks are going to beat those better teams in the league. Every team is beatable in this league against this Knicks team. And the Knicks being the underdogs makes for an even better story. The same thing Miami did last year, the Knicks can do this year, but they have to want it. So what if you have Randall out? So what if I'm not saying that those guys don't matter, but we can't cry about it. We have to move on and figure out a way to win. We
Yeah,
have to
yeah.
figure out a way to win. And this team could figure out a way to win. They have been doing it. It's very much possible. But again, it can't fall on just Brunson. DiVincenzo has to be on. I love, yeah, you gave us 11 threes last night. You hit 40 points. You got to keep bringing that same energy the rest of these games, game in, game out. I don't want to see you disappear when we play OKC. I don't want to see you
Yeah,
disappear. You know what I mean? When you playing against Chicago, because we play in Chicago 3 times coming up.
yeah,
When you
back to
play in
back.
Miami, you can't disappear again in those games. The Raptors, yeah, they're gonna have a lot of guys out unless they want to pull a. You know how you always say when the teams play the Knicks, magically players are available to play.
Mm. Oh yeah, yeah.
You
And
gotta
they
you
tend to
gotta
play
show up.
down.
You gotta show up. And this team is definitely able to beat teams. It just can't. Brunson can close out games absolutely, but he's gonna need help. He's gonna need help. No, I know that was me. I was reading her or him. I'm sorry. I was reading the chat from Just Knicks. I read it wrong. They were saying we beat Boston, like we can beat Boston by hitting our 3-pointers and free throws. So that was on me, my mistake. Shout out to
Yeah,
JB.
Shout
Oh, shout
salute.
out family. Hello to the best combo lady show, the two Knicks chicks. New York will be back game one of the playoffs. Drew New York will be back game one of the playoffs. That's why first round home court is yeah, majorly important. I agree. I agree. And you know what? I don't think that the Knicks, you and I was talking about this the last episode, the Knicks can't afford to slip past fourth.
Yeah,
You can't afford to.
for sure.
I
Yeah, yeah.
counted 10 games out of the 13 or 12 we have left. This was before we was at the 12 or 13 games we have
Yeah.
left. The Knicks need to win these games. So tomorrow's game against Toronto, you need to win. And then I believe we have OKC after that. No, we have the Spurs on Friday.
Friday. Yeah.
A fun fact I read was that the Spurs have beat Phoenix 3 times. And
And the last game,
you made me think of that because you said how Phoenix has 3 superstars.
yeah, the last game Wembyana didn't even play.
Yeah, see what I'm saying? That's concerning. The Knicks can't afford to lose to that team either.
Yeah, these are teams.
And they
All
just beat
games
another
matter.
team. The
What
Spurs
was
just
that?
beat another the Spurs just beat another big team the other day. And I was like, wow, they beat I don't remember who it was, but they beat it was the Suns. That's I guess it was that it could have been another game that I saw that they won, but yeah. So they beat the Suns back to back, which is crazy. But
Yep.
and the Knicks have the fourth because Orlando had lost their last game. So Orlando
Yeah.
plays tomorrow as well. They play the Warriors tomorrow. Listen, it's always possible with any team in this league. Look at what Houston is doing. Houston's out here winning games and people were sleeping on them. Sleeping on them.
Yeah, Houston done took over that eighth spot for the players. So, hey, as teams go on runs, that's what I'm saying. It a lot, it tells, just dribbling the ball, in the
Right.
NBA. There's a lot of nuances. And look at Houston's a prime example. Them guys, they figured it out. They got that trust factor going, and look where they're at. So at any given moment, it's anybody's game.
Exactly. Exactly. With the Knicks now in fourth, the Knicks can easily take the third spot in the East. Do you want to see the Knicks in third, or would you rather them stay in fourth with the way the East is set up? Like, do you think it would be more comfortable for the Knicks to stay in third and then they would be playing what the sixth seeding, or should the
Yeah.
Knicks be in fourth and go after that fourth or fifth seeding spot?
No,
Because
I mean,
I was looking at the standings and I know it could still shift and change, but I was like, I wonder would it be better if the Knicks landed in third or fourth between those two. I mean, either way is good, but I'm thinking like, we want to have at least a easier first round and to avoid Boston at all costs as much as possible, at least the first 2 rounds.
I would the third, and they who's that's who's in six right now. I mean,
Indiana,
yeah,
they're at
realistically,
41 and 32.
yeah, I would prefer Indiana. They just want to shoot. They play no defense, and yeah, they beat us that first game. But me personally, I would like to see them at the third. Um, fourth. I mean that fifth spot most likely will go to
Orlando.
yeah. I mean, but either way, the Knicks are poised to, it are just some teams are just a tougher matchup than others, but I feel comfortable either way. It's just and Tiz been great with just his substitution and just matchup wise. So no team right now is scaring me. As far as the Knicks advancing, because the Knicks have shown, you know, they don't, they stay composed. They don't, get down and hang their heads. They still ball either way. So
Yeah,
I'm comfortable at the third, fourth, either seeding.
yeah, I agree. I think third or fourth is key. That's why I said I don't think the Knicks need to slip or really could afford. To me, I think they should try to avoid even going to fifth. If you can stay between that third and fourth seeding,
Oh, for
that's
sure.
great. And potentially be facing either Orlando or what you call it, Indiana. I
Yeah.
think both are, widely beatable. And who knows, maybe Cleveland may slip down and we could end up facing Cleveland again in the first round. So you never know with these last few games and, where teams can end up in the standings on the East. But I just think that, I don't want to see the Knicks move to fifth, and I don't see that happening. I see the
Oh, for
Knicks taking
sure.
care of business and getting the job done and beating the teams that they're supposed to beat. So we'll see. And I think, I think it's gonna make for a great story and more people to open their eyes up and talk more about the Knicks when they get to the Eastern Conference Finals because I'm already putting that positive energy out there that they're gonna make it there. And the Knicks are more than capable. I think what they showed in January and throughout the season and in the what was that, the in-season tournament was just a
Yeah.
snippet of what they can do, and they've grown a lot since then.
Yeah.
So I think that this team has a lot to prove, and I love them being the underdogs. Like I said, I just think that it's just going to make for a hell of a season, a great story. And you know what, if the Knicks can get Randall back and he could just really try to monitor his ankle and stay away from guys like Bam or you know
His shoulder, to his
yeah,
shoulder.
yeah, and monitor his shoulder and not, aggravate it. And, same thing with OG. He just has to be careful. Like I love the hustle plays and him reaching in to get steals and rebounds, but he just has to be careful. But I think if we can get players like that back and Mitch, I think the Knicks are really gonna have be able to put up a fight for sure. And it just gives us a little bit more edge power than what other teams are gonna have, because right now I think kind of next door without those guys, yes, but I think having them back just makes for an even better run for us on our end. So, we'll see. But yeah, the Knicks play Toronto tomorrow at 7:30. They play again on Friday. Yeah, they play so the next two games are on the road. The Knicks play Toronto tomorrow, 7:30 at Toronto. And then Friday they play the Spurs. Um, yeah, away. And then they play against Sunday against OKC. And then they have a break and don't play again until Tuesday against Miami. So I'm gonna go the Knicks. I'm gonna go 2-1, but I'm hoping it's 3-0.
Yeah, for me, I'm gonna definitely, you know what? I'm gonna go out on a limb. I'm still stick with my 3-0. I know that OKC is gonna be a tough matchup. But that's a matinee. Or no, that's an evening game. There'll be, that's a drawback. They come back, Saturday. Or they may come back, so who knows that night. But see, that's gonna be a tough one because they're gonna just be getting back, just flying. So,
Hmm.
they may be, not at their best, but I'm still gonna go 3-0. I'm still, rocking with them.
Yeah, I mean, I love the optimism when you do that with the Knicks. Yeah, I'm gonna go 3-1, but I would like to see the Knicks beat OKC just because this is a team that we haven't beat yet, and I want the Knicks to be able to show that they can beat SGA, they can beat Chet, they can beat these guys on this team, and I know they can. The Knicks just have to, be able to do it. And I think that we all have to like stop saying, well, the Knicks weren't healthy. We know this has been an issue. Like we know this has been an issue for majority of the season. It's unfortunate, and this happens sometimes to teams, and especially with the Knicks making a run and a push and going in such a great direction of where they're going. It's unfortunate that the injuries have been something that have occurred to this team, but I think this team has figured out a way to prevail past that, and they're resilient and these guys fight, which I love. But yeah, I got them 2-1. I'm hoping for that OKC game. I think that tomorrow's game and Friday's game against Toronto and then the Spurs, I think those are non-negotiables. The Knicks need to win those games.
Yeah,
And, the games after OKC are definitely very interesting to say the least. You got a few tricky, toughy ones in there, but beatable ones in there. So we'll see what happens. But yeah,
yeah.
anything.
Toronto. I mean, and I don't know what's up with that, just because I know we're getting ready to wrap up. They have all these guys out. Like, is it rest or I don't know. So, you never know a player's mindset because you know they beat out even if if they win and they will win, they'll say,
Right.
oh well, we didn't have our starters in, so yeah, it's just interesting for who they have out. Quick,
But why is quickly out? Do you know why?
they didn't say RJ's out, Barnes, Boucher, Purdo, whatever his name, they just have him listed as out. So who knows? But in any event, we're still gonna win. So regardless,
Yeah, I know RJ is out due to the death of his brother.
yeah,
You
he
know,
hasn't come back.
yeah, so I know he's been dealing with, that personal matter. So I don't know. Hopefully him and Quickly still stay out and the Knicks can go after getting that W. And same thing against the Spurs. Like I said, those two are non-negotiable. They need to be able to win that game, both games. So we'll see. I want to salute to the chat, Eddie C for always joining us, Just Nix for tuning in, Kareem Grant, Jay Boogie, and those of you who are watching who are not active in the chat, salute to you all as well. Guys, hit the like button, show us some love. Those that are in the replay gang, hit that like button before you leave. And actually, while you're watching, hit the like button. It's free. It's right at the bottom left corner. You'll see the thumbs up. I think it's at the left hand side. And those of you who are new, welcome to our channel. Subscribe to the channel. You can catch us on Tuesdays, Thursdays, and every Saturday morning we're on. And then look out for us. We're usually guests on others' panels, on other panel members, on other content creators' channels on YouTube. We are on Twitter. They call it X now. I still like to call it Twitter. Follow us there. Mondays, I am a panel member on the Queen's Court on the Nothing But Knicks podcast, hosted by Steph, aka Queen. And yeah, we do also a monthly women's panel show. We didn't do one this month, but we will have one next month in April. So stay tuned for that. And hopefully we get to see you. I'm sure Nothing But Knicks Morning Brew is going to have some kind of upcoming event coming up soon. I don't know when, but I'm sure they're going to be having something coming up with the playoffs coming up. So we'll definitely be in the building at one of those events, if not multiple ones. And yeah, but until next time, everybody, really appreciate everybody for joining us. Have a great evening. See you guys tomorrow. We will be back for coverage on the Toronto game. And yeah, anything else for you, Diva before we get out of here?
Let's go, Knicks. We getting this W.
Exactly. So tell a friend to tell a friend. Until next time.